We all want to live our lives to the fullest. For many of us, being happy and strong is the first goal, but human life is not always filled with joy. Pain and pessimism will eventually find us. So what should we do? Become sad? No. Stoic philosophy may be exactly what you need in those moments, because it is a way of thinking that helps people live in the best possible way. It is a natural philosophy of life that strengthens positive emotions, reduces negative ones, and allows individuals to develop their inner virtues. What is Stoic philosophy? In any moment, in any situation, and at any stage of life, Stoic philosophy offers people the chance to live well. It reminds us of what truly matters and invites us to think differently so we can achieve more. Stoicism, or the Stoic school, was founded by Zeno of Cyprus in the early 3rd century BC. According to this philosophy, which places happiness at the center of human purpose, the only thing a person must do is live in harmony with nature. Anything aligned with nature cannot be bad. Historically, Stoic philosophy is divided into 3 periods: the early Stoa, founded by Zeno; the middle Stoa, whose most notable representative was Epictetus; and the late Stoa, also known as the imperial period, which is the one most familiar today. Stoic philosophy aims to bring people happiness. Happiness depends on the individual. Zeno argued that happiness does not come from external events or the whims of fate, but from our attitude toward what happens to us. What makes Stoicism valuable is that it is easy to understand, practical, and genuinely helpful for everyday life. Its practicality in helping individuals find peace of mind and discover their own strength has made it widely appealing. Throughout history, people have always feared leading an unfortunate life. Stoic thinkers understood this fear and believed that individuals could gain control by regulating their actions, behavior, beliefs, and thoughts. Zeno himself turned to philosophy after a shipwreck, the great misfortune that pushed him toward founding the Stoic school. For the Stoics, misfortune is an opportunity, but not all misfortune is beyond our will. For example, people create their own unhappiness when they assume that money, beauty, and fame will bring happiness. Yet these are illusions according to Stoicism, and Stoicism offers strong arguments to reveal why they are illusions. Stoic philosophy arises from anxiety, fear, and stress. Questions like, "What is my purpose in life?" or "What do I truly want?" may seem difficult to answer, but Stoic philosophers were not intimidated by them. Being virtuous and living in harmony with nature leads to lasting happiness and inner peace. The challenge is making sure these ideas do not remain mere words. So what does it mean to be virtuous and live according to nature? For the Stoics, reason means using logic and understanding the workings of nature. This foundation, called the logos or universal reason, exists in everything. To live according to reason and virtue is to live in harmony with the divine order of the universe, with an awareness of the shared mind and worth of all people. What are the Stoic virtues? Under the guidance of the Logos, Stoic philosophy identifies 4 main virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. A person who embodies these virtues has come close to the essence of Stoicism. To accept Stoic philosophy, you must understand that most misfortunes in life are beyond your control. And if you seek peace, it makes no sense to fear or worry about things you cannot change. Unhappiness and evil arise from the human mind's ignorance of nature's reason. If a person behaves badly, it is because he is unaware of his universal mind. Stoicism helps by examining our judgments and actions, showing where they diverge from the order of nature. The Stoics did not consider suicide wrong in situations where living a virtuous life was no longer possible. Zeno took his own life. Cleanthes did the same, and Seneca ended his life under compulsion. Seneca said, "The wise man must live as long as he ought, not as long as he can." The three basic elements of Stoic philosophy, Stoicism, rests on three main elements: ethics, physics, and logic. Influenced by Socrates and the Cynics, Zeno placed ethics at the center and considered physics and logic necessary to give ethics a firm foundation. The Stoics used imagery to explain this structure. Physics, which studies the cosmos, is like a tree. Ethics is like the fertile field where human action takes place. Logic is like a wall protecting both. They also describe philosophy as a living being. Logic is its bones and nerves. Ethics, its flesh. Physics, its soul. There is an invisible connection between the three. To speak of logic is to speak of ethics. To speak of ethics is to speak of physics, because they all arise from the same mind. Thus, the wise person uses logic and physics to understand nature and builds a rational basis for ethical living. The goal of Stoic ethics is for the human spirit to align with the universal mind and willingly adapt to nature, for the laws of nature are laws of reason. Who are the Stoic philosophers? None of the writings from the early or middle Stoa have survived, so Stoicism is mostly known through the late or imperial period. The most famous philosophers of this era are Seneca, the writer and statesman, Epictetus, once a slave, and Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. None of them were armchair philosophers. They drew their ideas from real life and placed morality at the center of their work, just as Zeno did. Stoics believe that living well is the highest moral act, and they advise that those who seek a good life must strive to be just. Human beings stand at the meeting point between the divine and the animal. We must move away from the animal and strive toward the divine, strengthening ourselves, thinking rationally, and using freedom wisely. Epictetus said, "Liberty is not only a great good, it is also profoundly rational." A Stoic is someone who sets out to become like a god. At his highest level, nothing can make him unhappy. He remains steady even when sick, despised, or near death, because happiness is the measure of morality. Epictetus said, "A horse is not unhappy because it cannot sing. It is unhappy when it cannot run." The same is true for humans. We suffer not when we lack things that do not belong to us, but when we fail to reach what is natural to us: virtue, justice, goodness, loyalty, and compassion. When these disappear, unhappiness begins. The most well-known Stoic philosopher is Marcus Aurelius. Years spent on battlefields witnessing all kinds of suffering led him to search for wisdom and fairness. As a child, he was fascinated by Epictetus and decided to adopt Stoicism as a way of life. After each day's battles, he would retire to his tent and write in his journal about his efforts to stay measured, wise, and virtuous. These writings, known today as meditations, have secured his place in history as the only philosopher-emperor. Conclusion: the Stoics made morality the centerpiece of human existence, the ability to distinguish right from wrong and act accordingly. By following the path of virtue, a person can find happiness and work toward improving both self and society. The Stoic sage chooses dignity in the face of life. He stays calm when misfortune strikes, when he is insulted, and even when death approaches, because he understands the nature of life and accepts death as part of it. For the Stoics, to die well is also a human act. Born from the question, how should we live? Stoicism teaches wisdom, truthfulness, respect, self-control, acceptance of fate, and mastery over desire without losing touch with the natural order. It elevates both humanity and the human spirit. As Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live."